Hello and welcome to Two Crones and a Microphone. I am Linda.
And I am Betty.
We are here to welcome you to our next episode having to do with, guess what, gardens. We started with Victory Gardens, now and then and now, growing food, community, and hope. And our last podcast was about Drop the Seed, gardening as a spiritual practice, in which we interviewed a dear friend and colleague of ours, Libby Clark. I hope you've had a chance to listen to each of them.
Yeah.
If not, I think you're in for a treat. There's lots of data and good storytelling packed into each one. Today, though, we're going to go with a personal favorite of all three of us. Crone Sally is off doing something else today, but Betty and I are going to talk about unseen helpers in your garden. Unseen helpers, you might say. What does that mean? Have a listen. We'll find out.
Well, I love all my unseen helpers. If you've been listening or if you've been following us on Facebook or Instagram, you know that for the first time, I put a real garden in the back, in the puppy playground. You can see pictures of it if you go to our Facebook page, Two Crones and a Microphone. And it's flourishing, absolutely flourishing. I can't believe it. It's an experiment. I put in tomatoes and peppers and some cilantro and, plus I've had an herb garden for a long time, an indoor herb garden that I keep going throughout the year. That has always done well. And I was sitting thinking about the podcast. I'm like, I've been really lucky. Is it because it's genetic? Because both of my grandfathers were gardeners, both of them. And one grew beautiful flowers. The other one also did beautiful flowers. But my French grandfather was a gardener on an estate. Now, he was more than a gardener. He was a horticulturalist. He created his own flowers. I mean, it's, so as my sister said, you come by it naturally. It's probably in my DNA, but I've really never explored it. Grew up in Brooklyn. We had a backyard, we did stuff, but we never really grew food, just, flowers here and there. When I got married, moved to the Poconos, and there is some farmland up here, I started growing tomatoes because my husband really liked them. So this year I thought, okay, let's expand, see what we can find. And of course, the first thing I did when I put the dirt in and got ready to plant things, Oceana had taught us how to create a sacred garden. So I put crystals in there. Now, if you want more information on that, I believe that if you join twocronesandamicrophone.com, if you become our sponsor, you're going to get a sheet on how to do this particular thing. So you'll be able to follow. You'll be able to follow how to create this sacred garden. I have to say, my garden's doing exceptionally well. I have little baby peppers coming out and, the flowers before you get the tomatoes. So next year, if this goes well, I'm going to be doing a bigger one. I'll put in a second one. Yeah, and they're above ground gardens, just so you know.
Just to say, you have a raised bed garden. It's above ground.
I do.
It's in a container, right?
Yep.
So it's easy to manage as an older person.
Yes.
Sometimes the in the earth gardens are not as easy.
Oh yeah. My back wouldn't take doing a garden in the dirt. Plus, not only that, but the bunnies. All right. The groundhogs will come and eat everything. And the deer would come and eat everything. Right.
Yeah.
So
I have friends in a fenced-in area, right?
Yes, it is. But the bunnies can still get through the fence.
Yeah, true.
All right, I've seen them do it. They turn into these little squishy things, and then they go right through the holes in the fence, right? Yeah, and I didn't want to electrify anything, so I use a natural substance. It's called, I think it's called the invisible fence. It's a deer repellent thing that you put around. Now, we've had a lot of rain, so I have to put it around again, but it doesn't affect the plants in any way.
I love you bringing up invisible because we're going to be talking about unseen helpers in the garden.
Yes.
And we're going to expand to a whole bunch of areas. Let's start first with, how do you relate to the plants in your garden? Because how many of us, raise your hand or nod your head, how many of us talk to our plants? At the very least, they, hello, good morning, how are you today? You know, however that might, or just a simple like, hi there. There are people who play music for their plants in order to inspire them in their growth. There are people who love to just give them a good energy bath. Betty, we were talking right before the podcast. What do you do?
I do energy work, of course. You know, you all know I'm a Reiki practitioner. And so I do Reiki my plants, both the indoor herb garden ones and the ones I have outside. And they love it. You can tell, you know, if they're, and I Reiki the water before I water them also,
very
particularly
nice.
the indoor ones.
The water. We told you in other podcasts how to do this. You can bless the water, charge it, whatever word you want to use, to intentionally add, you know, love or growth or flourish or thrive. These are some ways that we personally can help influence the way the plant might occur, the way the plant might grow. Now, you've heard us before talk about how plants respond to us. They might all of a sudden kind of wave back. There might be a little leaf flutter that happens, or there's just a little whoop that happens that energetically they kind of pop up.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. You can feel it. You can actually feel it. And lately I've been creating moon water at the full moon and putting that in the plants. And they really like that. It makes them happy. Plus a little drop of holy water. You know, the holy water does make a difference also. So it's all, you know, spiritually charged water, right? And the plants love it. They absolutely love it. They're very happy. We just came through 100-degree weather, as I think most of us have. Yes. And, you know, they did okay. I was thinking, oh, my God, I'm going to be up there watering 2-3 times a day. But they really did fine. So I think a lot of it has to do with the type of water that I was using. You can also put a crystal in your water. Charge that clear quartz crystal. Put it in the water, you know, charge it with whatever, you know, health for your plants.
Sure.
So put it in the water and water it with your little watering can, and they're getting that energy also. And they're happy. They're happy when you do things like this, right?
Yep, they are. Now, you know, we both come from an herbal background, and I've done a lot of foraging. The next podcast, in fact, is going to be taking this to the next level. We're going to be talking about herbal helpers or weeds. And so Crones Sally and I are going to make that podcast soon. And but in the meantime, we can take it up a level and take it up a notch from just talking to our plants. I don't mean just, but communicating with our plants and getting some messages back and forth. Sometimes it is possible to meet, I would call, the greater plant spirit of that plant. So let's take your tomatoes, for example. There is a kind of larger guardian spirit, is what I will call it, for lack of a better word, that resides within each tomato seed, that expands and grows with that tomato, that is about the health and well-being of those tomatoes as a species. And so sometimes I have been fortunate enough to get to meet some of those guardian spirits. And I'm sure, Betty, you have too. But I think about that. I will say I try to engage them. I call on the greater spirit of those tomatoes because, boy, they're going to be juicy. And I want to imbue them with all the good stuff.
Yes. You know, and there is a book, by the way, written by Pam Montgomery.
Thank you for bringing that up. Exactly.
I don't know if you can see this, but it's called Plant Spirit Healing.
Yes.
Chock full of information. Again, Pam Montgomery is the author, and it's a guide to working with plant consciousness. it's a great book. I mean, I have not read the whole thing, but I have done pieces of it, and she's got some really nice illustrations in here. If you're looking for a book, this would be the one that I would suggest
I
that you
am a
pick up.
100% with you there. I've studied with Pam. She's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
believe that. I believe that. I
She's
have
been,
not met her, but yeah.
ooh, yeah, she's quite the gal. And, you know, she basically teaches about how to meet the greater plant spirit energy
Hmm.
and how to listen and how to respond, because there's a lot of wisdom to be gained there. You know, in certain herbal circles, it's well acknowledged that not only are the plants helpers, the plants are also our teachers. And
Yeah.
so it goes both ways. The plants are here both to help us and to inform us and teach us about right relationship with the earth, how things settle in and work together. What is the weaving together that occurs on an energetic and plant-based level
Hmm.
that results in us having a happy garden, a good ecosystem, and greater attunement with the earth energies themselves.
And it helps us. I mean, if we're out there gardening,
Oh, yeah,
working in the dirt, that helps you to ground.
that's right.
It helps you to settle down, put things in perspective. And I believe the reason that happens is because there's other elements out there. For example, the fairies.
Thank
I
you.
have tons of
Yes.
fairies living out here. I mean, they just have a really good time. There's so many of them. I even created a little fairy garden. I haven't put it together yet, but that's one of my things to do today. And I will post a picture of my little fairy garden on our page and also on our webpage, the two crones and a microphone.com. It's just a fun thing to have that they come and they see it and they're happy. You want happy fairies around your house for sure.
Also,
I have a lot of ferns. They live in the ferns. There's a ton of them around my house. And I'm always happy when the winter's over and you can feel them kind of come back, you know? It's really
what do
exciting.
they feel like and look like, so to speak, to you?
To me, they give me a really happy feeling that they're there. You can feel a presence.
Mhm.
Um, Look, you may think I'm crazy. I have
Oh,
security
no.
cameras all around this house, right? Because it's a large piece of property. It's a big house, and so I have to keep tabs on everything. And I swear there have been times at night when I've seen the outline of a fairy on the camera. And I haven't been the only one. So if it was just me, I may not mention it on the podcast.
Yeah.
But there have been others who have seen them also, and they just kind of flit around.
Yes, indeed.
Um,
Yeah.
and I feel that with the gardens that we have now, I have a lot of flowers also, by the way.
Hmm.
It just makes them happy to be part of that,
I agree.
you know.
Well, my experience with fairies is, I grew up as a child really loving the idea of fairies, and a lot of the fairy tales that I was most interested in had to do with fairies. And they were presented as sometimes a little problematic or, quirky or mischievous, and other times really lovely and bubbly. But when I've met fairies at various places, and this is going to tie into our next podcasting season nicely, because really it all comes about by helping invite them in and saying, gee, it would be really great to have you here. And so I find that by intentionally asking, it creates an opening for the
Yes.
fairies to come. And what do fairies look like? Across different cultural divides, there were so many chats about the little people or the fae or the fairies or the the gnomes, that's getting into a whole other
Mm-hmm.
realm there that are more about the earthen energies, or the sylphs about, having to do with water and
Yeah.
fire, and it gets into elemental differences like that. But the first time I remember meeting fairies as a kid, and then usually at twilight, I would start to see these little sparkly globes that would twinkle around. And they weren't fireflies. I knew what the firefly was, and I loved collecting those in jars and then letting them go. But this was different. And often I'd see it right around when the time the sun would go down.
Mm-hmm.
And so I carried that into my adulthood. And since then, I've danced with fairies. They love it when we dance and move around because they like to go like this too. And, it's possible that there are unseen worlds that we cannot
Yes.
fully perceive and may get invited into from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
So, but do they help our gardens? Oh my goodness, yes.
Sure. They
Yeah,
do. Absolutely, they do.
yeah,
And I have wind chimes out there also. They love the sound of wind chimes. I have some in the front of the house, some in the back of the house. So it's just that little tinkling sound that makes them very happy. It's
yes.
beautiful, just absolutely beautiful. I have bird feeders and bird baths. It's for the birds.
Nice.
So the birds, I believe the birds interact with the fairies. I really do.
Yeah,
And I,
yeah.
I think that just makes it's more of a nice ecosystem.
Mhm.
Even the squirrels, little devils that they are, they're like little clowns, trying
Yeah,
to get up on the bird feeders. So I believe that all of these energies combine to make a happy garden.
I'd
And that's what
agree.
you want, a very happy garden. Yeah. And I'll sit outside a lot of times at night and just talk to them,
Absolutely.
you
And do
know,
they answer?
sometimes,
Yeah, same
sometimes.
here. Not always, but sometimes I'll get an answer.
Yes.
And sometimes it'll be a sense impression, like you started by saying you just feel happy and
Hmm.
like a sense of welcome, right? And sometimes it'll be that sort of sense feeling, and other times it'll be what I'll call a thought picture. That there'll be a picture that'll appear in my head, and it might be of them dancing, or it might be
Yeah.
of just like a big grin. And so I really honor the unseen influences because who are we to say that they do not exist when in fact so many have perceived them
Oh, yeah.
through the eons here.
I do believe that they exist. I have a tree in the back that I absolutely love. And when my husband was so ill, I used to go out there and sit and talk to the tree,
Yeah.
just have these big conversations. And last year, it wasn't looking so good. And I thought, uh-oh, we had a hard winter. It was tough on the tree. I thought, oh, is it going to come back again this year? Thank God it did. But I gave that tree a lot of energy work. I would
Mm,
go up to it,
mm,
talk to it, put my
yes.
hand on it. I hung little sparkly things from it to make it feel good. I was doing all kinds of great things. And this year it's doing okay. It looks okay. But I think it's because I was tending to the tree, you know,
Absolutely.
and then I thought,
Absolutely.
did I put so much on the tree that the poor thing got sick?
No,
I know,
no.
but those are the things that go through your head sometimes. You're like,
Sure.
no, no,
Yeah.
no, I'm going to take care. Now I'm taking care of you. You took care of me. I'm going to take care of you. All right. And
I
that's what I did.
love that. See the reciprocity. I think that is when we're embedded in the landscape, in on the land where we reside. It doesn't have to be necessarily a sacred site.
Yeah.
Our entire next series of podcasts are going to be about, you know, being conscious on the land where you are. Let's
Hmm.
start with a pilgrimage from our own backyard. From those, let's make that the sacred site that we relate with. because that's where we live. Let's work with the land where we live and express the joy and the relationship that absolutely already exists there. You described your garden. I have a series of lovely pots on a deck that have beautiful flowers in there, but also certain select herbs. There's a wild grapevine that was planted almost 15 years ago that grows up here. And you will see I'm going to be doing a short because there's some mugwort. Mugwort is one of the identifiable helper herbs that has to do with the moon and healing and dreaming and all those other things. I'm going to show you in a short how to make a mugwort stick that can be used for smudging. If you don't have sage, or if you don't want to use non-native sources for smudging, a mugwort stick is brilliant. And I'll show you how to identify, harvest, and make a mugwort stick. So as a smudge stick. But I love that you brought up trees, Betty, because that's another, in some ways, unseen helper. The trees embed themselves, they root into the earth, they're constant observers, and they change with the seasons. Most trees are deciduous, though they're those that keep their needles or leaves all year round. And so that means they change with the seasons. And that's very much like us in our lives. So I use them as a way to think about the scope of a lifetime is by relating to those trees. Now think about what they do too. They weave their roots together. There might be, like there is in my yard, a giant maple tree. It must be at least 100 years old, more. I can't put my arms around it. And there's a giant maple tree back in one corner. And then I have these little river birches that are native to Ohio that grow in the back in the front yard. But they are so lively. They have so much to say. Now and then I'll be looking out my window, just like now, and a leaf will be waving, a branch will be waving at me like this, and there's nothing else going on out there. Now, maybe there was a squirrel on that branch, but maybe not. In my world, I get to see all that kind of interaction. But I think the trees are unseen helpers as well. The mycelia beneath our feet. Mycelia are the fungal intertwinings that help, interconnect all things that are growing, at least here in the northern part of the United States.
Yeah, the northeast part. Yeah, what would I but I had to cut down some ash trees because the poor things had that emerald ash board.
I'm so sorry.
And they were falling down. I mean, and they were dangerous, so we had to let them go.
Yeah.
But there is a special way to do that, to say goodbye to them, because they have I believe they have a spirit also.
Absolutely.
And every tree that came down, I went out there with my tobacco offering.
Yeah.
Thanked the tree for what it had done in its lifetime.
Yeah.
Because part of doing that was I didn't want anybody to get hurt cutting it down. Yes, I had professional tree people come, but still accidents happen. And that particular tree, I know they don't like to cut down because it tends to snap in the middle when they're cutting, and it's scary. So by doing that offering to the tree, I think I was able to avoid any catastrophes that might happen. You can do that with any plant, though.
Exactly.
If you are working with your garden, make offering. An offering could be your saliva.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a song.
That's right.
It could be giving them Reiki or therapeutic touch or whatever energy work that you do. I mean, there are many, many ways. And I know that they respond to this. Before I cut my herbs, because I make herbal water, especially in the summer, I thank it. And I tell, look, I'm only taking this little piece. The rest of you is going to be fine. Don't panic, because there are studies that show that if you go near a plant with a scissor with the intention of cutting, it panics the plant. So I make sure that I tell them, just take a little piece. Thank you. I appreciate everything that you've done. This is going to help me to be stronger.
That's right. Yep. I always leave at least a thought offering, a big thank you, and a reassurance at the same time.
Yes. Yeah. Makes a huge difference.
There is something else I want to throw in there too, because, I've been to several herbal conferences where both Pam Montgomery who's the plant spirit healer, mentor, and teacher extraordinaire that you mentioned with her book in the beginning, and also various associates that use a particular device that gets lightly clamped onto the leaves and stems of the various plants, and it gets translated into sung sound. And what happens is we get to hear the sound bath that particular plant emits. And it's extraordinary what these herbs are singing. That I can't exactly replicate it. It's usually a little more high pitched, but very melodious and very kind of. And believe me or not, but it's true. And it's scientifically proven that there is a way that we can listen in to the song, so to speak, that the plant is issuing. And oh my goodness, and each plant has its own unique, different song. And so I want to just throw that out there as a concept. And I'll see about finding a link so we can add something to our blog post on that.
Oh, that would be great.
Because it's really extraordinary to hear this. And so consider that we are walking around in the midst of a literal plant symphony every single day. Whether we can hear it or not, whether we perceive it or not, that energetic sound bath is going on around us all the time.
Well, it's energy, it's vibration.
Exactly.
So even if you can't hear it,
that's right,
your energy field is picking up on that. And that's is why you feel good.
Exactly. It's part of why we like to garden. It's part of why we like to go sit in a beautiful garden that someone else tends. Let's say we're not a gardener, but we enjoy the results. So really lovely. That's why people like to go and sit on a bench or take a little hike, to be out amidst the trees. There's the whole concept. It was originated in Japan, called forest bathing. And in forest bathing, you intentionally go out, have a quiet time, put out a blanket, sit with the trees. And often if you have a guide, they will prepare a little cup of tea from foraged plants that are around, some wild leaves that they will know are good to actually put in a tea. And then you'll sip that, and you're both calming down, which is true, and you're also taking in consciously all that amazing energy. I do have one more story about trees, because I recently, with my friend, he and I went out and did a tour of a UNESCO site here in Ohio that is the site of intentional earthworks that were built around the year 0, and possibly BC, or BCE is before current era, is the current way to say it. And not only was it amazing to sit and walk those intentional spots, but there was one walkway that was through a woodland, and there were giant beech trees that were bigger than I could put my arms around. And I swear, as I went there, it was like being with the redwoods in Muir Woods, or with the sequoia. Those giant trees emit such, to me, calming and just profound energy. It's just, I just drop into, oh, okay, right. Here we are. This is good energy when I'm around.
It is amazing how much they give to us.
Yeah.
That always amazes me, and how much people don't realize. And I'm hoping that by listening to this podcast or watching it on YouTube, that you realize all the benefits that are out there. We're in such a fast world. We're running here, running there,
Oh, yeah.
looking at our phones all the time, interacting on social media. Put it all down and just sit for a little bit and see what you can pick up. You'll be absolutely amazed. Absolutely. I just want to add one thing, because I know we're probably getting to the end of our time.
We are. I was about to say, and soon we'll need to wrap up here.
Yeah. Take a look at Dora Kunz, who was one of my teachers, and I adored her.
Yes.
She wrote a book on fairies. So I would suggest you look her up and purchase her book on fairies, because she had such a relationship with them. It was unbelievable. And she taught me quite a bit about the fairy realm. She really did. So those are two people I would recommend. Dora Kunz, who I studied
that's spelled
with.
Kunz.
Yes, Kunz. And of course, the book by Pam Montgomery. I know there are others out there, but I think for our listeners, these would be the two that you may want to really dive into.
I agree. And I'm trying to look up the name of her. The Real World of
Fairies. Yes. Yeah.
In 1977, she published a book about her fairy experiences in her youth, The Real World of Fairies.
Yeah.
And she talks about how throughout her life, she always kept in communication with nature spirits, which is essentially what we've been talking about this entire podcast.
Yes.
Yeah. So really, really amazing. Really. And if you're interested in that, there are works about her and her biography that you may be interested in as well, because she goes into extraordinary depth about some of the extended spirits. She would call them divas or devas, that would help anchor plant species and also help promote health on the earth itself. So she was very gifted in being able to see, perceive, and communicate and teach about all these things. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm so excited we got a chance to talk about this. We've had so many stories to share. This is just beginning to open the container. And we look forward to seeing you next time on Two Crones and a Microphone. Until that time, go see if you can meet a fairy.
Yeah. Go sit with your plants.
Sit with your plants. See what happens.
Let me remind you to please subscribe to our podcast. So you won't miss all the wonderful things we have planned for you down the road.
Exactly.
Two Crones and a Microphone.com.
Thank you, Betty. And until that time, go meet the fairies and go find your glimmer.
Hi, if you're enjoying Two Crones and a Microphone, please like this video and hit the subscribe button. Enjoy timeless wisdom from modern times, all served up by women in the know.